What's up, everybody? This is Steve Butts here. I'm here with my close personal friend, Justin Davis.
Hello.
How are you, Justin?
I'm great.
So we just finished watching the Microsoft conference. There were a lot of interesting games announced. A lot of the stuff that we saw, though, was fairly predictable. But one game stood out for me, and it's this one, Project Spark. You mentioned this one caught your eye, too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I like a good shooter as much as the next guy, but, browns and grays, you see a lot of that, and this is something that's very different.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing. I'm not anti-violence necessarily when it comes to games like you. I love those games. But Microsoft's lineup didn't feature a lot of creative games, or a lot of games where that type of physical conflict wasn't the primary gameplay mechanic.
Right.
And so this one, what we're seeing here in Project Spark, which I guess is an internally developed project.
Yeah, it's from Microsoft Game Studios.
Right, is they're actually creating the terrain for the game that they're going to have in a few minutes here. So they've got a couple of different choices they can make: mountains, rivers,
and that was all. Night. They were using Smart Glass. They were using Kinect to just say things like, give me mountains, give me woodland. I'm assuming there'll probably be controller inputs in the final game, but right now they were doing a lot of it with voice.
Yeah, so you see here one of the demoers is actually drawing on Smart Glass to raise mountains and to create rivers in this game. And the world looks really beautiful. I'm sure a lot of this is sort of pre-generated, but your ability to interact with it and create your own elements is just fantastic. It happens so quickly. They built this level in just 60 seconds.
Yep, yeah, so it's sort of crazy that it's all textured and it's all, sort of intelligent. That's technology that's seamless to the end user. They just say, I want mountains, I want a river. But from their standpoint, to make all that and make that tech work the way that people want is kind of mind-boggling.
Well, there's sort of a high barrier to entry for a lot of this stuff. I mean, we've seen this with a lot of games that allow for custom content,
right,
particularly in the console market. And that's not a slap against console players, but just that market hasn't been as used to this type of thing.
Sure.
On the PC, we've had mods and games like Minecraft for a long time.
Right.
But we're seeing a lot more of this, especially with something like Disney Infinity, where they have the toy box where people can jump in and add logic and events and things to the various objects in the game world. It looks like Project Spark is going down a similar road.
Yeah, and so what we're seeing is they first made the terrain using super simple voice controls, and then you can make sort of AI routines for objects in the world. And so they gave that rock an AI routine that just, it's a pet routine. That's one that either came with the game or they made it ahead of time, and that basically means that it just follows along. And then just by imbuing that sort of personality onto the rock becomes a pet that then follows you around.
It's amazing to think that you can actually become sort of a game designer using this game. I mean, it's offloading the burden of creating content from the studio, where it's much more expensive, to the end user, where Microsoft can allow you to do what you want. It doesn't cost them a dime, really.
Yeah, I mean, this is a sort of thing that everyone, thinks they can make a game. They say, I got great ideas, I can do that, but they either can't program, they don't have the math chops for it, or, they don't have the artistic chops to go in that direction. But that doesn't mean that their ideas sort of aren't worthy. And hopefully, if this works the way that Microsoft is, advertising it, it'll finally give those people a chance to realize some of their ideas.
Absolutely. It'd be interesting to see what their infrastructure is for sharing that content across gamers. So if, for example, I make a really cool level, can I get you in that level? And it turns out, yeah, you can. You can have multiplayer in this game as well.
Yeah, and this is the part where, my BS meter started to climb a little bit, I guess. It's sort of hard to see in these E3 demos sometimes, what's real, what's not real. How is this multiplayer going to work? Is this a game that, you're just going to buy for $60 and have access to all of that? Is there a fee to store this stuff on the server? We don't know any of that yet.
And we're also not entirely sure how much of what's being accomplished here on the screen is the result of being put in the hands of somebody who has years and years of gameplay design experience, right? Like you as an end user, if you sit down, or I have a 7-year-old kid, and I say, hey, make a game. Is he going to do anything any more complicated than, put a soccer net at one end and you kick a ball into it to score a point?
Right. But what they are showing off here is sort of the collaboration of it. It's a little bit Big Planet-esque in the sense that you can upload a level, other people can grab it and remix it and change it, tweak it. So maybe people will just make tools. Like, here's an AI for an enemy, and you can't program that yourself, but you can borrow and use somebody else's in your level, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they're getting ready to show here just some general levels made by people who don't have a lot of special experience at all, so you can get a sense of what's possible.
Right.
One thing that I especially like about this, though, is it's not tied to any specific IP. It's got a really charming art style. It's something new, and it looks like stuff we've seen before. It's got kind of a World of Warcraft vibe, obviously, but
sure.
At the end of the day, this is a game that I didn't expect to see today. I expected to see Metal Gear Solids. I expected to see Halos. This one totally blew me away.
Well, what is funny about, people would just copy, in other game creation tools, they would just make other games. And now they're showing that in these demos. They showed Limbo. They showed Geometry Wars. So, hopefully people use it for actual creativity instead of just mimicking things that have come before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Project Spark is absolutely something that excites me. I can't help to get my hands on it.
Yeah, I can't wait either. We certainly want to find out more about this game. So for all the latest news on Project Spark and all things E3 and games, keep it locked to IGN.